The Mac is back. John McCain's first news conference since his presidential election loss 3 weeks ago. And in our third story in the countdown, the campaign may be over, but the problems are not, like people having forgotten what he does for a living. It wasn't just that reporters had almost as many questions about Sarah Palin as they did about McCain. It was also the subtle indications that already the media response to Senator McCain is becoming, you ran for who of the what now? Like this one.
Governor, considering...
I'm a senator.
You know, we couldn't decide between that version of that sound effect or another version, but fortunately McCain's news conference gave us more than one occasion to use it, so you can decide which one you prefer as you contemplate this subsequent visual indicator of the current level of interest in McCain, a media turnout that ran at least one deep. I know, right? I can't decide either. McCain did make some news confirming he will run for his 5th term as Arizona senator in 2010, praising Obama's appointments so far, including high praise for the rumored nomination of Arizona's governor, Janet Napolitano, as Homeland Security chief, which, if true, would eliminate McCain's biggest potential competition for that 2010 race. But the most interest, intensely so, still was in McCain's choice of running mate. She already apparently on the road to 2012, picking up political IOUs with 4 campaign stops for Georgia Senator Saxby Chambliss yesterday ahead of his runoff, and subject of a $2 million thank you ad from a conservative political action committee. What did McCain have to say about her future today?
I think that Governor Palin's future is very bright in the Republican Party. By the way, I note that she is going down to campaign for Senator Chambliss, obviously in a very tight runoff race. I think she's did a great job of energizing our base. I'm very proud of her. It's one of the great pleasures I've had to get to know her and her family, and I think she has a very bright future in a leadership position in the Republican Party, and I'm still extremely proud of the fact that she agreed to be my running mate.
And the senator was right, and I was wrong. Palin does campaign next Monday night yesterday. Let's turn now to Chris Cillizza, White House reporter for The Washington Post and author of The Fix at WashingtonPost.com. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
So one guy calls him governor, and another asked if he's going to run for president in 2010, but mostly they wanted to know about Governor Palin. I mean, obviously losing presidential candidates tend to fall off a political cliff. But is it always this bad, and we just don't remember the past ones?
I think it's always somewhat this bad, Keith. I think we have a tendency in the sort of rose-tinted glasses to think that, well, Bob Dole had this heroic end to his campaign. Usually that's not the case. John Kerry, same thing. The loser is sort of shunted aside in favor of the winner, or in this case, the fresh face being Sarah Palin. The other thing with Senator McCain to remember is he is 72 years old. He has been in Congress and the Senate since the 1980s, in a party, in a media environment where they are looking for new, interesting storylines. John McCain's storyline, politically at least, is somewhat coming to an end, though we don't know what the future holds. So they're looking for new storylines, and Sarah Palin is that new storyline.
Well, could he be developing a new storyline here by being sort of old-fashioned? Because this prescription he put out for his party is fiscal discipline, and given the crisis we're in, the unkind way of saying that is that, boy, that's really out of touch, and the other one is, boy, that's a really mavericky political rallying cry.
You know, Keith, I talked to a bunch of Republicans right after the election, and they think, and again, this is their supposition, but they believe that there is an opening on spending to draw contrast. The problem with the Republican Party right now is very few people know what it stands for. They think that focusing on spending, being opposed to these sorts of bailouts, including the auto industry bailout, that could be a piece of the puzzle where they rebuild. Clearly, Barack Obama is saying, I think we should bail out the auto industry with certain, so we're not going to give a blank check, as he said in yesterday's press conference. But I think that's a place where you're going to see Republicans really try and highlight their difference between now and 2010.
McCain talked about Governor Palin as part of the future leadership of his party. I mean, to what extent is this the senator defending his own choice of his running mate, and to what extent is he really saying, no, I really want her to be, if not the leader, then one of the leaders of the Republican Party?
It's a little of both, Keith. On the first matter of sort of defending his choice, I think John McCain has been ardently opposed to any idea that he had made a mistake in picking Sarah Palin. So it would be odd if his first press conference post-president would be where he said, man, I really screwed that one up. But I also think that John McCain, he said this in the press conference, he saw in Sarah Palin someone like him in his own mind's eye, a reformer, someone who had fought the political system and won. Sarah Palin's story, you know, elected, beating Governor Frank Murkowski in a primary, taking on people like Ted Stevens and Don Young, incumbent members of her own party. I think that's the grain that John McCain believes that they share that sort of DNA. So I don't think it's entirely simply just in hopes of coloring the history that he picked the right person. I also think he shares some sort of a common bond with her.
But a maverick would say I screwed it up. Last point, Palin in Monday in Georgia for Chambliss, 4 rallies that day. Is she actually campaigning for him or for somebody else?
Well, she's campaigning for him, but she's campaigning for herself, Keith. There's no question. Look, if there was any doubt, and I didn't have any, but a lot of people did, that she was someone who wanted to be in the mix and would make sure she would put herself into the mix in 2012, that doubt should be erased. The RGA, the Republican Governors Association, where she gave a speech in a press conference, her series of television interviews, and now on the day before a very critical runoff election for the Senate, a number of stops in Georgia for Saxby Chambliss. She wants to be a player. She's doing everything that she can to make that clear.
Chris Cillizza of the Washington Post. Great thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Keith.